Hi everyone, welcome back in another video tutorial where we're going to be building this awesome application. So we're going to be building a study tracker app. So this is the theme that I choose for building the application. And as you can see, the application is deployed online into Vercel. And also we're going to be using this website called Bolstack that I newly built. And not only that has pre-usable components that you can just put together and create the things that you want. And also we have the ability to generate boilerplate code that has all the initial elements like the dark mode, like the font and the Shadcn components, just to save a little bit of time. And also I'm going to be adding more stuff into in the future. So let's go back to our application and I'm going to walk through all the features that we're going to be building in this application. So we're going to start from the top. So we're having, of course, the dark mode and the light mode. So it's pretty straightforward thing. And also at the left side, we're having this bar chart. And also we can be able to choose the last 7 days, the 15 days, or the 30 days. Here at the right side, we're having more stats, the total hours studied, the completion rate, the total studies, and the most studied categories. And finally, at the bottom, we're having this awesome table to show the 5 last sessions. And also, if I click on the See More, so I can look at more information or access to more information of the table and also access to features like the filtering, the sorting, and the search. And also at the bottom we're having the pagination and everything is working as expected. And also one thing that I'm going to show you and we're going to be using from this website is pre-usable components like for the this component. So this is a whole component and also we can be able to access to many features by just using prompts and the logic it's going to be done from within this application based on the data that you provided. Like, for example, here we're having, if I click on the category, so all of this has been calculated automatically based on the information that you put in the array or provided by the array uh, within the prompt by using the prompts. So actually, when I click on the language, I'm gonna just see the items that has the category language. And also when I click on physics, so we can be able to just see the items that has or that have the category and the physics. And notice here, like we're having two numbers just to let the user know that he is selecting these or two elements currently. And when I click on the clear filter, so everything is gonna be cleared. And also I can do the same thing for the completed section. And also I can be able to sort. So when I choose the category, as you can see, we're having the arrow icon in the column. And also I can choose the ascendant or the descendant. And when I click on the reset all, so as you can see, we are going to clear all the filtering or the sorting. And also we can be able to search for the element that we want. And also we can choose how many rows that we want to show for each page, and also this is going to be updated accordingly. So we're not going to use React table by task tag, but as I said, it's something that I built myself just to actually make things a bit easier because I found React task tag is a bit harder, so you need to be a little bit experienced in the web development, especially with TypeScript, to be able to use this. But hopefully that this component that I'm going to show you is going to make things a bit easier. And also we can be able to add a new session when I click on this button. So we can access to this window And also, we are going to use Zod and React hook form for the validation. Like, for example, when I click on add session, we're going to have this error. And also, if I do this, we're going to have this error. And nothing's going to happen uh, I until the errors are gone. So when I do this, and I'm going to change the category and also the status, and I click on the add session. So we're going to have this notification. So we're going to use a popular library called React Hot Toast to be able to create this notification. And notice right now our item has been added successfully. And also we can be able, of course, to edit the item when I click on the item that we want. So when I choose the completed status and I click on edit, so as you can see, we're having the loading spinner. And notice here we're having the completed at because now I set it as completed. And also here we can be able to copy the item when I click on copy. So the item it's going to be copied. And also we can be able to remove the element that we want. And notice every time that any operation that I do, so we're going to have this spinner because the function that I programmed is a promise function. So as you are going to see in the video, like just simulating the operation in the server because it takes a delay, so it's not happening instantly. So we can simulate this by using a promise. So this is something, a feature in JavaScript that we're going to be using. And finally, if you want to go back to the main page, all you have to do is just click close and you are into the main page. And notice that the information here has been updated because we added, deleted something into the table. And also you can be able to access the item just from here. So when I click on this element, as you can see, we can be able to see all the information related to the item that we clicked on. So this is what we're going to be building this project. So even though that seems a bit easy and it doesn't have a lot of features, but man, it took me quite a while to build this application, and you will learn a ton of things by building this application. So if you are really serious about building it, stick with me till the end of this video. Hi everyone, welcome back. So as you can see, I'm in this website called boldstack.dev. So this is something that I built myself to be able uh, to make built-in projects a lot faster. So the thing that you will be provided by this BoldStack application is the boilerplate project ready to use. So just to be able to save time with especially for the initial setup like the dark mode, the fonts, the Shadcn components, and all of that are going to be in the generated project that I'm going to show you. But also we're going to use the blog section. So as you can see, I'm providing many blocks ready to use. And that's something that we are going to be using heavily inside this project. So let's go back to the landing page. And also you can find the website down below in the description. So it's totally free. You don't have to pay for anything. Even you don't have to sign up to be able to use the features that I'm providing in the this application. So click on the get started now. So we'll be headed towards this stepper. So the first step that we need the first step is we need to provide the project name, the project description, and also if you want, you can choose an icon. So the name that we're going to be choosing is the Cognitrack. So that's what I choose for the project. So you can choose whatever you want, and also you can be able to choose the icon. So I'm going to choose the book icon. And finally, we're having the project description. So the name and description are going to be saved inside the metadata object in the layout.tsx. So I'm going to just type in this is study tracker app. So after this, and also you will have the live preview. So everything that you are changing in here, you can see how things are looking. So I'm going to click on next, and the next step is related to customization and styling. So we're having the border radius, we're having the font. So when I select the Poppins font, as you can see, we can be able to see live the changes. And also we're having the hidden size and finally the color. So the color that I'm going to choose is this one. So you can choose whatever color that you want. So um, uh, uh, all the things that we're doing in here are going to be updated in the layout.tsx or the global.css of the actual project code that you will download. So everything's going to be handled automatically for you. And after choosing the thing that you want and you are comfortable with your settings, then you can click on next, and finally the overview step just to see what you choose before you click on the generate. So after clicking on the generate, so it's going to generate the project for us. So it's going to take a while to generate the project, and we can be able to actually use it after it has been downloaded. So as you can see, this is the zip file. So if I open it up, as you can see, this is the files related to the Next.js project. So all you have to do is just to extract this. So you can extract wherever you want. So I'm going to extract it in my documents folder. But before I need to create a new uh, file. So it's gonna set automatically the name from the name of the zip file and click on OK. So it's going to extract our uh, folder, and then all we have to do, open it up in uh, the VS Code and select the folder. So before we install the packages, so I'm gonna walk you through the things that you will get from using this, and as you will see, it's something that it will save you a lot of time. So for example, if we go to the app folder and we go to the global.css, so here all the colors are going to be provided uh, here automatically. As you can see, the font family is Poppin because we choose the Poppin font. And if we go to the layout.tsx, so as you can see, uh, here we're having all the fonts that you can choose from. We're having the title, the description. So the reason why we're having the error because we didn't install the React or the packages needed for running the project. And also, as you can see, we're having the theme provider that handles the dark mode, the toaster. So many things that you will get access to this, and it's a time saver. And also, if we go to the components.ui, so we're having all the components or the Shadcn components. And if we go to the package.json, so as you can see, we are having all many libraries that are very vital for the modern web applications. So already in here, so you don't have to go to the website and just copy and paste and type in npm install whenever you want to install the package that you want. So also it's going to save you a lot of time. So after loading the project, so all you have to do just open up your terminal, and we are going to install our packages by typing npm install and hit enter. So it's going to take a while to be able to install all the packages needed. So I'll be back after the download has been completed. So as you can see, all the packages have been installed successfully. So after this, all you have to do is just type in npm run dev to start the application. So after this, all you have to do just like go to the browser and the address bar, choose the localhost 3000. So as you can see, our server is running. So because my computer is a bit slow, so that's why it's taking a while to actually compile the whole project. So as you can see, our project or server is running successfully. And as you can see, all the settings that we choose for the styling has been applied successfully. As you can see, we're having the actual color, we're having the name of the project name, and also we're having this very simple uh, landing page. And also we're having the dark mode, as you can see, ready to use. We're having the Poppins font also successfully has been installed. So this it's gonna save you for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes just to be able to install all of this. So as you can see, it's a time saver, and all you have to do just right now, just focus on building your project, and this is what you are gonna start doing. So the next step that I'm gonna do is add the navbar of the application. And for this, we're going to use again the Stack website, and we're going to go to the blocks section. And as you can see here, we're having many blocks here for now, and I'm going to be adding and filling this up and adding more pre-usable components. So, and here what we're going to do, um, we are going to go to the dashboard section and to the nav bars. So after clicking in it, so we're going to use this actual navbar, and also you have access to the whole code, and also you can be able to see how to be able to use this component. So instead of trying to build this component by ourselves, so all you have to do, um, I'm going to go back to the actual component. So all you have to do, just copy this code. So it's free. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to the app folder and the components folder. So the first thing that I'm going to do first, I'm going to get rid from this part, the hero section and the features section. And so let me delete these components here. And also I need to get rid from these imports, and I'm going to go to the navbar. And one thing that I'm going to stick with is the app logo function, which is this part. So because we're going to use it in the new navbar component that we're going to be using. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go to the page, or what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a new component called applogo.tsx, and I'm gonna paste the code. So I need to import the icon, so from the Lucid React library. And of course, we're gonna have an error in here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get rid from this from this. So I'm gonna keep the navbar.tsx, and of course we're going to have an error in here, and also I'm going to get rid from this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this website and copy the code, and then go to the navbar.tsx and paste the code in here. So as you can see, it is a pretty long code, but don't worry, I'm going to explain how to be able to use this code. So after doing this, so all you have to do, just uh, import the navbar component. So it is called the dashboard navbar one. And so after this, I'm gonna reload the page, and hopefully we can be able to see our navbar. So I think the reason why we couldn't be able to see the nav bar, so I think that everything is right because we're having the page.jsx. Um, so let me reload the page. So as you can see, this is the actual nav bar as we're having in here, but we are gonna do some updates just to be able to get the same navbar that I showed you or that we used inside the application that we are building, like getting rid from the search bar and some of the things that we are going to update to be able to see or to get exactly the navbar that we saw at the demo of the project. So this is the final look of the navbar. So we're going to stick with these elements like the logo, the name, the button, and the uh, uh, the dark mode or the mode toggle icon. So we are going to use, as I showed you, this particular component. So go to the dashboard section, click on the nav bars. So this is what we're going to be using. But as you can see, we're having many components that we are not going to be using. And because as I'm going to show you in this code, this code provides, as you can see, many prompts just to be able to customize this component depending on your needs and what you want from the application. And this is what I'm going to show you in the project. So if we go back to our application and the page.jsx, so as you can see, we are using these prompts that this component is providing. So if we go to the dashboard navbar, one component, so as you can see in the interface, we're having many components. So we're having the username, the left section, the avatar URL, and many other prompts to be able to customize this dashboard nav bar so you don't have to recreate over and over again, and that's going to be a time saver. So I'm going to show you very quickly the prompts that I used. So we have the ability to switch off the avatar icon, the search bar, and this is what I did. So for the we're having another object called the button data that has the text property and the icon. So as you can see, I'm providing for the text, the add session and the icon. So this is the icon that I'm providing. So this icon only accepts the lucid icon and the icon type. And for the left section, so the left section we're going to call the app logo component. So if we go to this, if we go back to this component again, so what I did, and just to be able to actually change this part and so let me go back to the actual navbar. So instead of like constraining this to a text or to a string, so I decided to choose the React node so you can be able to add wherever you want. Here you want to add a button or any React node type element in here. So this is why I decided to make this left section as a React node, as you can see in the interface. So here when we provided or assigned the left section prompt or property to the app logo, so we didn't have any error and we've been able to actually render this component successfully. And if for example you do this, so I'm going to add the test. It is a string, but also it's going to be set as a React node. And as you can see, we can be able to actually render this element even though that it is a string. So let me get this back. And also we're having the icon buttons. So the icon buttons property, it is an array of nodes. So here we can be able to add many elements inside this array, And this is where this property is positioned. So if I go back to the page.tsx and let's add, for example, uh, an icon here, and you can add whatever you want. You can add a button, you can add anything that you want to trigger something from. So I saved the project, and as you can see, we're having this icon next to the mode toggle component, and you can actually link it to a callback function to be able to trigger whatever you want. So this is why I set this icon buttons as an array of React nodes. And as you can see, we've been able to create this navbar very quickly by using this component that I'm providing for free and many other components that we are going to explore. And as we will see, it's going to be a time saver for building the project a lot faster. All you have to do is to be familiar with it, and it's going to take you a while to be able to actually use the prompts or use everything in it very quickly. So this is what I'm going to do in this project. So before we keep building our UI, I want to stop for a moment and show you the data that we're going to be using because the next component is the chart bar. As you can see here, if we go to this website and in the dashboard section and the chart cards, so we're going to use this card as you can see, and this is the whole code. And to be able to use this card, first we need to provide the necessary data. So that's why I decided to talk about the data before we continue building our UI. So let's go back to our VS Code. And as you can see, I created this new folder called data and another folder called utils. So we are going to be storing all the utility functions needed. So let's go to the studies data.tsx. So I'm going to start from this part and then I'm going to explain what these functions are doing. And also along the way, you will learn some of the features of TypeScript to make sure that our application is type safe, and also the benefits that you will get by using TypeScript. So for the studies area, so this is the structure of each object, the ID, the item, the category, the created at, the completed date, the time studied, and the completed property. So as you can see for the category and the completed, so we're using these two functions and we are passing inside of them these prompts. So I'm going to start by the first function and what it does. And also we are going to explore like these functions like the category, get category classes, and how we can get the category type. So for this function, as you can see, the category prompt is defined as the category type. So where did I get the category? So if I click on here, as you can see, it is saved inside the categories data. And this is this is a trick to be able to actually extract the types from the categories by using the type of from TypeScript. So first we are going to define all the elements inside the categories array, and then to be able to extract all of these elements inside this array as a union type. So we're going to use the type of, and we are going to add the categories array, and then we're going to use this number the number between the square brackets. So if I hover over the category, as you can see, I can be able to get as a union type all the elements inside the categories array. So the reason why we're doing this, just to make sure wherever, so when I'm gonna use this function, I'm gonna only constrain the prompts into the category type. So just to show you, for example, if I do this, the IntelliSense, it's going to just give me the elements that are defined inside the category type. So by doing this, I can only this function can only accept these types, and also to avoid like having any issues. Like for example, if I do something like this, it's gonna throw an error. So that's gonna avoid a lot of issues later on when we compile our project. So the errors are gonna be shown at runtime. That's gonna avoid a lot of headaches later on when you compile your project. So that's why we're using TypeScript, and that's the benefit of it. So I'm going to go over what this function does, as you can see. So it's very simple. We're having this get category class. So this function is going to actually return the color utility classes from Tailwind. And instead of adding this function in here, so what I did, I added it inside the category color.js inside the utils folder. So as you can see, we're having the category defined as the category type. And here we're going to create our color map object. So we're going to use the keyword utility. It is a TypeScript utility, and it is like saying to TypeScript, this is going to be an object, and an object is a key and value. So for the key, we're saying to TypeScript, it's going to be only of type category. And also we're going to add the default since the category or the categories area doesn't have the default, but we are going to add the default in here because we need it within this object, only inside this object. We don't want it to be inside the categories data, so that's why we added it in here. And also we're saying to TypeScript for the value, we want to be this signature, the object of a background as a string, of a border as a string, and the text as a string. So the reason why we're doing so, if we go back to our final application, as you can see, we want to actually define or change the batch so we want to change the background color, as you can see, the text color, and also the border color of the batch. So that's why we're using all of these properties. And also another great feature of TypeScript, because we define the key as the category. So if I do this, for example, so it's going to throw an error. And if I hover over it, so this is what it's going to say. It's going to, uh, this object may only specify those properties, but programming doesn't exist in this type. So that's why we define the key as the category to avoid having errors like these. And finally, we are going to actually save the result inside the colors based on the category that we defined in the prompt, and we're going to use it as an index, and we're going to insert it as a category. So whatever result that we're having, it's going to be saved into the colors. For example, if we define the category as physics, so all of these elements are going to be saved inside the colors constant. And finally, we're going to return inside as string literals all of these elements, and of course we're going to add the base class which we defined in here, and then we are going to add all of these properties based on the category that we choose. So if we go back to the studies.data.tsx, so whatever that we're having inside or returned within this function, so it's going to be used inside the category. So that's why we are going to render, that's how we are going to render all of these and the colors inside our table because we're using the create category batch. And here we can add, as I showed you, the categories safely because we used TypeScript. And also for the completed, so we're going to use pretty much the same structure, the same logic. So this is the function that we're using, and the status prop, it's going to be only of type status type. And here we're going to define our map. So it's going to be a record, an object, and the key, it's going to be only status type. So if we go to the status type, so it is saved inside this data folder. So we are going to define our status array, and then we're going to extract all of the elements inside the status array, and we are going to define them as a union types, and everything's going to be stored inside the status type. So if we go back to the status data, so here we are going to return inside or within the batch tag the wherever that we provided inside the status, it's going to be used as an index within the status batch color. And of course, we're going to use this function inside the completed property. So, and this is what we are going to get as a result by using this function. So for now, we're having just three objects. So I'm going to add more objects, but it's very important to create this first and get this out of the way before we continue building and creating our UI elements. And so the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to start using this component, this chart cards component, and also you will know some of the things and how to use this component. So I added successfully the chart bar and it is fully working. So when I select another time, last 15 days, so you can see the information or the animation. And also we can be able to see only the time that we selected. And also another thing that I didn't show you is if I reload the page, like when we are waiting for the data, we're going to have this skeleton before we can see the actual data. So it is the same thing that we're having in our final application. And this part is going to be a bit technical since we're going to use this component. So this component from this website, so that I proudly created. And to be honest with you, that is something, one of the best projects that I ever built because not only I've been able to actually enhance my knowledge in TypeScript and all of this, especially when you are creating reusable components, but also it's going to save me a ton of time building projects. So as you can see, this code has a lot of code. And also, the most important thing, as you can see, I'm having a lot of types since I'm using TypeScript a lot. And also, we are using some advanced stuff like generics, as you can see, some kind of very advanced stuff in this component. So that's why I said that's going to be a little bit advanced. But don't worry, I'm going to explain. I'm going to try my best to explain everything that I did. So let's go back to the code. Before I jump into the code of creating this chart and using this component, so the first thing that I wanna talk about, which is something very important, is the state management that we're going to be using for this application and the code in it. So uh, this code this code or the state management that we're going to be using is zustand. So the zustand uses stores or hooks rather than using the traditional context API that is provided by React pattern. And this is very handy and you don't have a lot of boilerplate code that you need to create and it serves uh, to some stuff and make things a bit easier to create. So let's talk about the code and what it does and what it is. So as you can see here, defining some types. So first, we need to define the interface or the structure of the store that we are creating. So as you can see here, um, I call it the studies state. And this study state is going to be used. in the create method. So the create method is has accepts generic types, so you can be able to actually provide any type that we created as a structure. So we are telling to zustand, so everything that is going to be inside this function needs to follow the structure uh, that we created beforehand in here. And also we're having this study item type. So here we are going to extract the types, or we're going to define the types from the studies array. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the categories array by using the type of key from JavaScript to be able to actually extract all the properties and define them as a type and storing them inside the study item type. And here we can use this, and we're going to add the square brackets down TypeScript. At this, it's going to be an array of the type study item. So we're having the is loading as a boolean. The error could be an error, a type error or null, and the fetch studies, it's going to be a promise. So I'm going to talk about the fetch studies data first. So here, so this is the fetch studies, and as you can see, it is we added the async keyword because we defined it as a promise of type void. So first we're going to set the is loading as true. So we're going to change the state, and then inside the try and catch block, we are going to use this await since this function is an async, and we're gonna call this fetch studies data, which has a promise of type studies as an array. And then we're going to create a new promise, and we are going to use the set timeout. And so the to simulate the delay, we're going to use the set timeout, meaning that only after 2 seconds we are going to actually call or execute these statements. So here we are going to add the studies array from this file into the initial studies, and then we're going to use the resolve. We're saying that we are going to return this initial studies as a successful return, and so it's going to be returned from this function. So this is why we are using it in here. And then we are going to take wherever inside the data and assign it to the studies state. So that's why we're using the set parameter. And the loading is going to be false. So if it is an error, we're going to use this statement inside the catch block. So this is our store. So it's very important first to actually understand this, because as I'm going to show you, if we go to the page.tsx, so it's going to be a little bit overwhelming because here, as you can see, we're having a lot of code to be able to actually make sure our chart is working. But one thing that I want to show you before I start talking about what the code does is here we can actually call all of the variables that we defined inside the use study store from here, and this can be accessible from any place you want from the code, and make sure that we have the integrity of our data, that meaning that we're going to use one source of truth across all the actual application. And whenever we do whenever mutation we do for the studies, for example, so it's going to be actually defined in across all the application. So that's the beauty of using a state management like this. So after I showed you how we created our zustand store, so the next thing that I'm going to show you how I coded the chart. So the first thing that we need to do is go to the chart cards. So and copy this code and create a new component. So I called it chartbar.jsx and paste it in here. So paste the code and close the file. So, and what I did, so if we go all the way down to the GSX part, So here, as you can see under the dashboard navbar one, so we're having this div because we're going to be adding another div for the statistic cards. And here we're having this div. So make sure to add all of these utility Tailwind classes. And here, so we're having inside this div, we're having these utility classes, and as you can see, we're using the grid because we're going to be adding in here the statistic cards component. So let's go over all of the prompts. So as you can see, it is so this component has a lot of props, and it took me quite a while to be able to build this component honestly. So it was a bit challenging, but as you can see, uh, we are getting great results. So we're having the chart custom size. So this prompt actually changes, I think it changes the actual size of this title. So let me modify this and save the file, see what we are going to get. Oh, I forgot. So it changes the height of the actual chart. So I was wrong about this. So so I did this because sometimes I want to actually change the size of the height or the height of the chart so we can be able to actually control it from outside. So we're having the is loading. So to be able to actually trigger the skeleton, the title, the selected value, the unselected value. So this is linked to the drop down as I'm going to show you. The drop down options here, we can be able to define our drop down. So I'm going to get into this, the chart card legend. So I set it to false. So if we do this true, so you can be able to actually see the legend here. So we don't need this for this. So I set it to false, and we're having the x-axis data and the y-axis data. So these are mandatory to be able to actually get the shape of the data so we can be able to render it like this. And finally, we're having the drop-down default value and the class name. So let's go all the way up, and I'm going to start from the top. So first, I want to show you the drop-downs array. So as you can see, it is an object of two types, label and value. And so I'm not going to get into this right now. And here we're having some states. We're having the states from the use studies store. We are going to access to the is loading and to the studies area. Of course, we're having the is mounted. So I'm gonna explain why we did this. And then we're going to define our chart data. So the chart data need to be of this structure. So that's why we're using the chart data type to be able to assert or to tell to Typescript only that this chart data constant is going to be of type chart data. So here, this is how we're going to define our chart data type. So it's going to be an object of two properties, and each property it's going to be of this type. And these types you can access to them from the chart part.jsx. So I created them and also I added the export keywords so we can be able to access to them from outside. So that's why I did so, and just to make sure that your code is type safe. So that's why we added this type. And first we're going to actually initialize our object like this. And also we are using the selected value, and to be able to actually access to the uh, values and to make sure that this selected value is type safe. So we're going to use the selected value type, which is a utility type that I created inside the chart bar.tsx. And the reason why I did so, so for example, when I used IntelliSense, I can be able to only access to the values that we defined inside the drop-downs array. So that's why I did this. And here we're having inside the use effect hook. So whenever the component is loaded, or whenever these two states are changes, we are going to actually call the loaded data, which the code within this function. So let's get into what this function does. So we're having the is mounted. So the reason why I said the is mounted is because since we're using the selected value, so whenever this is changing, it's going to actually call the fetch studies. So just to show you the problem that I faced, and that's why I created the is mounted state. So I'm going to reload the page, and what you will see is whenever I click or whenever I change this selection inside the dropdown, as you can see, it's going to fetch the data. So that's why we're having the skeleton. To be able to actually fix this issue, we're going to use the uh, this statement. So only if the is mounted is false, then you can use the fetch studies. So first, we are going to actually update this is mounted as true. So whenever we are changing in future the selected value, so this it's going not the fetch studies or the fetch studies is not going to be loaded because it is within this condition. And here we are going to access to the data, so the get study data. So it is a utility function that I created inside this file. So what this function really does is it's going to actually calculate the daily study data and the chart values that we're going to be using inside here. So I'm not going to get into this. So it's something that I just got from ChatGPT or DeepSeek. Uh, but mainly I work right now with DeepSeek. It has great performance, but also it's totally free. So here we are going to define the rage config, and we're gonna define it as an object. So it's gonna be the keys. It's gonna be the values from the dropdown and the number. So this is the structure, and here we are going to actually uh, set our current range, and it is based on the selected value. So if we, for example, select the 7 days, so we're going to get the 7 number. So we are going to store this inside the current range constant, and then we are going to actually convert this into an array since the daily study data array is an object. So we're gonna convert it, or the daily study data is an object. We're gonna convert it into an array, and then we are going to slice our data based on the current range. So that's why we're using it in here as well. And then we're gonna sort it. And finally, we're gonna update our chart data. So we're gonna use inside the values in the x-axis data, the slice data, and the y-axis data, the chart values inside the value property. And then we're going to take this and add it inside the set chart data so we can be able to update the main state, which is the chart data. So this is the use effect that I'm using, and this is the code that I'm using to be able to actually like get the results that we're having in here. So the next component that I added, as you can see, the status cards. So all of these components or all the numbers are calculated from the studies array that existed inside the zustand store. So the first thing that you are going to do, go back to the bolt stack website into the blocks page, and in the dashboard section, go to the statistic cards and go to the second block, which is this one, and copy the code so you can see the code before you copy it if you want to. And then go to the components folder and create a new file called the stat cards, and you can call it whatever you want and just paste the code in here. So we are gonna use this component under the chart card one component. So as you can see, we're using the is mounted again in here because what I want to avoid, like not showing the data before the information is loaded. So I want to only see the components when we go to the client side. So that's why we're having this white space before we can see uh, the components because of the is mounted. So only if it is true, then we are gonna actually render this component. So the prompts that we're gonna be using, you can explore what this component does, but right now we're gonna use these prompts. So we're gonna use the cards prompt, the is loading, to be able to actually render the skeleton, the is grid. So we're going to use the isGrid because you can just define this as false. And if I save the file, so it's not going to be a grid. It is something that I added uh, just to depending on the layout of your application. We're having the class name and we're having the card class name. So this card class name is going to be assigned to each card, and the class name it's going to be assigned to the overall component. So now I'm going to show you how we actually calculated these numbers and also the code behind it. So as you can see, the start cards, it's going to be a use memo hook. And the first thing that we're going to do, are going to actually do the calculation. So this calculation, it's going to be inside the start cards function, which is located inside, if we go to the utils folder. So this is where I put the whole code, and we are going to destructure our code, and everything's going to be saved inside the stats constant. And then we can be able to use the stats constant, and we are going to access to its properties. So we can so I'm not going to do this again, but if I do this, as you can see, I can be able to access to these properties because this is what I'm returning from this function. So if you go to this function at the bottom, we're returning all of these. So this is the whole logic that I'm using to be able to actually do the calculation. So this is a helper function, so I'm not going to get into this. What it does is just extract the text from the component, uh, from the React node elements, since we are using. So if we go back to our final application, so for example, the category and the completed, their properties, as I showed you, is a React node. So we need to extract the text from these elements to be able to do the calculation. So also this is a helper function to be able to actually get or parse the minutes because we're going to use it inside the calculate or inside the total hours, as you can see. And also we're using this to be able to calculate most study category. So I like to explore this function. So basically it's just used AI to be able to provide this actual function and save time. But of course, I need to make sure that everything is working well before I start using it. So here we are going to actually assign each property from the stats constant inside the object that we want. So of course, this is going to be dependent upon the is loading state and the studies area. So, and then we can be able to use the stat cards inside the cards prompt in this component. So this is basically how you can be able to create this. And as you can see, This is completely responsive by now because we used if we go back to our GSX, here we used some utility classes related to media queries to make sure that uh, everything is um, everything is responsive. So the last element that we need to add in our main page is the table. And also we're going to use another component. So now we will start seeing the benefit of using these pre-used components. I'm providing them guys for free, like took me quite a while to build these elements, and also not only that, it's gonna help me a lot to build projects on my YouTube channel much faster. So the table that we're gonna be using is the data table. So we're gonna use this data table, and as you can see, there are many features because if we go to the code, as you can see, the code is very long. It's 1,000 lines of code. And as you can see, we're having a lot of prompts that you can be using. And it took me for 3 days to be able to build this actual component and do the testing to make sure that everything is working well. So we're going to get into the next thing, which is building our table. So as you can see, this is the table. So we're having the data, as you can see, we're having the title, some description, and the See More button. So it is the same table that we built here, and also we can be able um, to actually have or click on one of these items. So as I showed you, we are going to use this component. So all you have to do first, copy this code and create it inside a file. So for my case, I created inside this components folder, the data table.jsx. So this is the name that I gave for this table.jsx. And we are gonna start using our data table. Make sure to import it and use it this way. So these are the prompts. So it accepts many prompts. So we're going to use these prompts for this table. So and also is an opportunity to discover how to be able to use this component. So the first component that we're having is the header. So the header, I saved it inside another file. I called it study headers just to make sure that everything is organized. Since we're going to use this or reuse it to be able to show the main or the extended table. But for now, as you can see, we don't have all the information. So this is the header. So it needs to be an object of key and value. So we're having the keys and also we're having the value. So for my case, the values are going to be the same name for the keys that we created. And then we're having the rows. So what I did here, I used this function called the sort studies by newest. So this function is located inside the table utils in the utils folder. And so what it does is just sort the arrays or the elements by the newest. So by using uh, uh, the built-in function called a local compare. And then we're having the description, we're having the title, so they are self-explanatory. The is loading, so also it accepts the is loading to be able to actually render the skeleton. So if I reload the page, what you will see is the skeleton and the table already added in the component just to save time. And also I created this prompt to be able to hide the columns. So sometimes I want to hide some columns. So that's why I added this prompt. So if I turn off this and I reload the page, so what you will see all the columns. And some of the columns you don't want to actually uh, so you don't want the user see some of the prompts like the ID. You don't have to actually render the ID. And also if you want to hide some of the elements, you can do so. So this is what this actual prompt does. And also you can be able to set the clickable columns. So for my case, I just set the item, and the best part here, it is type save. So if I do this, so all I have access to is the properties that I set inside the headers, which is this one. So to be able to do this, the reason why we're having this is, as you can see, we're using the generics pattern in TypeScript. So as you can see, this code is very, very long, and to be able to handle many things that I'm going to show you when we look at the full picture or the full table. As you can see, the sorting, the filtering, the searching, the pagination. So this component handles all of this for you guys. So I'm gonna get rid from this, and also we're having the on row click. Uh, as we will see, sometimes when you want to click on an item, so we need a callback function. And as you can see, it's going to have this row parameter, which of type the rows that we added inside the studies. So it's gonna TypeScript, it's going to do this for us because we use generics. And finally, we're having the call to action property, which is this part. So we're going to use this to be able to actually toggle between the extended table and this page after this. So this is our data table. So as you can see, it is a time saver. And also it's going to save you a lot of headaches rather than trying to build the table yourself. So all you have to do is to know how to use these prompts. So as you can see, we're having our full page already working with the data, and we're getting all the information that we want. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start working on this part, and it's going to be very easy since we're going to reuse again this table, but we're going to we're going to use all the props that this component provides. So after we completed the main page of our application, so now when I click on the see more, so as you can see, I'm gonna have all the information of our table, and I don't have to create another code. So all I have to do just reuse this component that I'm providing in this website, and use all the prompts, and also use the same array, and you are ready to go. So I'm going to show you all the features that we're having into the table. And if you want to go back to the main page, you can click on close and you are back to the main page. So let's go back to the table. So the first thing that I want to show you, like everything is handled by the logic that I created in the component. So you don't have to add anything, so you can just like search for the item, and as you can see, you will get the item that you are looking for, and also you will access to the categories, and everything, all the calculation is going to be handled by the component. And when I click on the language, as you can see, I'm going to just select the language or the items that have the language category. And if I want to do this for like select all only the items that have the mathematics and the language, you can do so. And also you can select the in progress, and also you can sort by the category if you want to. And also if you want to clear the filter, you can click on here. And if you want to clear everything, you can click on reset all, and all the filters has been deleted. And so just to show you the sorting, so as you can see, when I click on the completed date, or selected as a sorting element or option. So we're going to have this arrow function. So when I click on ascendant, so it's going to actually sort the whole table. So, and the best part here, and probably is something that struggled with, is React table. It's pretty tedious, and I think it's a bit complex to use. So I didn't use React table by Jamstack, so I just created myself, and also to learn how all of these works. Of course, it's not going to have the advanced features that Jamstack React table Jamstack has, but you have the main features that everybody needs, like the searching, the sorting, the filtering. And also another thing that I didn't show you is the pagination. Also, it's gonna be handled by the component. So as you can see, the pagination is working perfectly. And also the pages or the elements here under these buttons are gonna also be updated. And final thing, in the component, you can access by default to this section. And all you have to do is just provide an array as I'm going to show you, and you can be able to actually access to these to this drop down, and you can assign a callback function if you want to. So as you can see, it's very handy to create this table, and so it is a time saver. So let's go back to the VS Code to show you how to be able to do this. And I'm going to start by creating these two states, the show data table and the search value. The show data table, so we're going to use it to go from this table to the main page. So if we go all the way down inside the GSX, here I'm using the if statement. Only if the show data table is true, then I'm going to return this whole GSX. And as you can see, I'm using all the prompts provided by this data table. And as you can see, there is many prompts. And if it is false, we are going to use this GSX, which is the main page. And also we are creating the search value. So these states are going to be assigned to the state or to the prompt. I think is called the search object. So it's going to be assigned to the prompt, so you can be able to actually link it to the internal states inside this component. So now let's go over all of these prompts. So we're having the title, the description, we're having the rows, so we're going to use the studies array from the store. We're going to use the headers. So the sorting, so we're having the sort object that accepts the default property. So we're going to set the default property as created date. And as I mentioned, and the beauty of this is type safe. So we can actually choose only the properties that are inside the study array headers. So if I do this by default, so if I go back to our application and so let's reload the page. So just to actually get the sorting by default, so we are going to set the completed. So as you can see, it is selected. The sorting by default is selected as completed. So as you can see, it is sorted by completed. So this is what this prompt does. So show sorting buttons. So you can be able to actually hide the sorting buttons if you want to. So the filter by, you can actually add these buttons depending on this area. Like for example, if I do this and let's say I want to add the time studied, for example. So when I save the file, and here all I have to do is just reload the page just to actually recompile the whole project to get the new update. And let's click on see more, and as you can see, you can be able to access to the or show the time studied filter. So as you can see, it's very handy, it's very easy, and all you have to do is just to tweak some prompts and you can be able to access to the information that you want. So it is something that it's going to save you a lot of time. And here we're having the call to action prompt, which is linked to this part. So it accepts React Node, and the reason why I did so you can be able to add anything in this part. So for this case, I added the close button to be able to go back to the main page, but also I added this button. So later on when we add the dialog, so instead of using a button, so we're going to use the dialog trigger tag to be able to actually open up the dialog. So also we are going to hide the ID. I already showed you this prompt. So we're having the pagination, so you can be able to set how many rows per page by default, but also you can be able to set the array that you will that is existing in here. And we're having the class name, we're having the search object that has all of these properties, the key to search by, the placeholder. And if you want, for example, to search by the category, all you have to do is this. And the search is going to be actually the logic of the search is going to be linked to the category and not the item. So I tried my best to actually uh, work on the edge cases. And there are some of the things that I need to add into the table, like the checkboxes and some of the things that I need to update with this table. But I'm really happy with the result for now. So also you can set the clickable columns. I already showed you the is loading and the on row click. So as I showed you, all you have to do is actually reuse the component, provide the prompts, and you are ready to go. So now I think that we completed the whole UI and everything is working. So the thing that we're going to add is the dialog, and also we're going to add the validation, React Check Form, sort, but also some of the functions to be able to actually do the operation or the operations inside the studies data. So the next thing that we're going to start working on is the dialog. So when I click on the add session, as you can see, we're going to have this beautiful dialog. For now, we're having just the session name because I want to just show you the logic and the code that I use to be able to create this dialog. And also if we click on see more and go to the extended table, we can be able to access to the same dialog. So first make sure to, so I already created the form, a reusable form. So as you can see, this is the code of the whole form. So it has many pre-built features that we're going to be using and it's going to simplify things for us. So copy the code and uh, create a new file. I called it form dialog and paste the code in here. So after this, uh, I'm going to show you also how I organized the files. So I created a new folder called session dialog, and also I created this dialog portal.tsx. So I'm going to show you why we use the create portal function in here, and also inside the dialog fields, I'm going to be adding in it all the fields because each field is going to be its own separate file. So everything's going to be organized in one folder. So let's go back to the dialog.tsx. And the reason why I use the create portal function, so this function, it will enable us to actually put the dialog at the top of the tree hierarchy of all the nodes into the DOM. So the reason why we did so, because we want to access to the dialog from wherever we want, especially when you are working with routes. So for now, I'm not working with routes, but I discovered this because I wanted to create a new route. So I stick with this even though I'm not using another route, so I can just use this dialog and the page.tsx in here and put it at the top. I can be able to access the dialog. But the reason why I stick with this, just to be able to actually remember what this does. So if I face this issue, so I'm not going to be overwhelmed by this and I can fix it very quickly. So here, as you can see, we're using this type of window. So this is a window object that is provided by JavaScript, is a built-in object from JavaScript. So if it is undefined, then we are going to return null, meaning that only if this is in the client side, then we can be able to use this create portal function. And here, as you can see, we're using the use model. So we're creating this context API. So here we're not going to use zustand. We're going to use the context API from React. So actually, to be able to actually access to the is open from across all the application. But since we use the context API, we need to go to the layout.tsx and actually wrap the children prompt or element within the model provider, and also make sure to add the dialog portal so we can be able to access to it from the top hierarchy tree of our DOM. So that's the first setup. And basically, if we go back in here, or if we go to the dialog portal, so the dialog, it has these properties or these props. So we're having the open property, which is linked to the is open state, the onSubmit function, the dialog title, dialog description, the open on open change, which is going to be linked to the toggle, which is a really simple function, as you can see. We're having the hide trigger. We want to hide the button trigger since we're using the dialog ShadcnUI components, and by default it shows the dialog trigger. And so I added this hide trigger state to be able to actually hide it. So we're having the components array, and here we are going to add all the components that we want. So for now, we're having the session name. You can choose the layout. You can change the layout from grid to list, the primary button, and also we're having the secondary button. So we can choose the text icon, but also we're having uh, I think we're having also the button prompts to be able to access to the native HTML attributes if you want to, because we're going to be using this when we start working with the data, especially with the loading state. So this is what we are going to add as a prompt. So now after we added successfully our dialog, so we are going to start populating our dialog. So we're going to add the other fields and also other functions and other logics.